everyone again. Really nice to have you here. Really, really nice to be this time for our last event of the year. This time we're calling it How to Find a Career You Love. And if you can go next. We, like always, we want to start with a question. Do you have something to drink? Because after all, these are the service design drinks. So I have a tea here.
Me too.
I see some wine. Nice. Next, please. So first and foremost, to those of you who have been in this event, you know what we are all about, but just to repeat it, the service design drinks here in Berlin is all about inclusion, is all about meeting people. We're seeing all these happy faces. Is about leveling up. Hopefully we're having good conversations that are helping you. It's about sharing, it's about learning, speaking practice and coaching. We'll get to that in a bit. And like I said, having some drinks. We used to have them in person, now we're having them virtually, but still the drinks are here. Next, please. Who is the team that have been running for this year, the service design drinks in Berlin? I will just name them and they will say hi, and you will see their faces because you're probably seeing a lot of other faces. So I'm Matti, Mela.
Hi, I'm Ella. Nice to meet you all.
Gabor.
Hey guys.
Adam.
Hi everyone, nice to be here.
And Dee.
Oh, hi, nice to see everyone.
Yeah. So that's the 5 people that have been running the drinks for this year. Yes. Next, please. And we have a very special guest today, Mauro, a friend. He's many things, but we could say he's a design lead at Google AI. He has been a TEDx speaker. He's one of the co-founders of the Service Experience Camp, and he happens to be an ex-co-organizer of the Service Design Berlin. Mauro?
Hi. Welcome to my show.
Yeah, so what are we doing today? So we have a 3 points agenda today. We asked you some questions when you were registering for this event. We want to share a bit how you are all feeling about your careers. How are we starting this session? Then we'll have a conversation with Mauro. The 5 of us wanted to be interviewed by Mauro, so maybe there's some good stories to share there, and there's a Q&A part. We will ask you to raise your hand because we are a bunch, so to keep it a bit more structured or to be able to hear each other, we'll ask you to raise your hand. There's I think it's on the bottom. Yes, the bottom. You can raise your hand and then unmute yourself and ask a question. And yeah, let's keep it a conversation. Yes.
Jens has a question.
Unmute yourself, please.
No, I was just testing that out and I wasn't sure whether it was off or on. Sorry. Now it's off. Is it off or on now? Because in
now
German
it's on.
Now it's on.
It says Meldung zurückziehen. That means when you click this, you will draw it back. So I assume it's still there, but so it's wrong. Yeah, you see. Okay, thank you.
There you go. Thank you, Jens.
This is a panel that we will have open throughout the session. If you go to the top, right here, I guess, there's this shapes icon, and you can see the QA panel, and you can ask your questions and also upvote the questions from others. And I would recommend you to just type questions as you think of them. So we don't forget about them, because we want to go through them as much as we can. And whenever we see that there's some question there, we will also get to those. So feel free to just type them as you think of them. So, Dee.
Yeah, cool. Okay, I'm just going to quickly show, this is, as Matti said, this is from the results of that. When you signed up for this event, we asked you a couple of questions. And we mostly asked because it would help us then talk about things that are really relevant to you. And when we go through the rest of the event, Mauro also can focus questions and guide us to answer things that are important to you. And then we also decided it's really interesting. And so maybe all of you would like to see. So this was from 110 people who registered, like basically from yesterday. And the two questions that we asked were, so first, how do you feel about your current job? And it was like 1 to 5. You had to pick 1, totally miserable, and 5, this is my dream job. I can't believe I've got it. Oh, hi, Josh. And so the interesting is that, say, 20%, pretty close to 20%, picked 1 or 2. So kind of not so happy in their current thing, their current job. Maybe it's also because some people are looking for a job, so they're falling into that category too. And then surprisingly, actually for me, I think, and for us, 36% of people had 4 or 5, like really pretty happy, or yes, this is my dream job. So that's actually kind of nice to see, especially in this world. But then the interesting part is as well, I guess, what does that add up to? 44% in the middle with the number 3. Almost half of people were like, don't love it, don't hate it, something. So then we didn't ask any deeper questions about what that means. So that was a bit frustrating. But then the topics that were really important, then the follow-up questions were, if you don't like your job so much, if you're a 1 or a 2 feeling at the moment, what would you want to change? And this is in order of the kind of sentiment of people. So the biggest thing was changing the culture and dynamics of the way they're working. Of course, it was a short answer, so maybe that's something to do with Corona as well. Maybe it's also to do with companies and businesses and work culture. And then there was wanting more meaningful work or something with more impact. Then number 3 was more creativity and autonomy. And this is all summarizing actual text that people wrote. So these are kind of categories. More creativity and autonomy, a desire for that. And then also people wanting to find a job. So this is all super interesting, and we can focus our topics on this during the event today, on answering and talking about these kind of things in our careers as well. And then we also thought it'd be interesting to ask, if you really love your job, what do you love about it? So what are the things that make you love it so much? And really, not surprisingly or surprisingly, it was a lot of the same things. So the number 1 for sure was people saying, I love my job so much because of the people and the culture of the company. And then there was having creativity and autonomy over my work, having variety of interesting challenges and different things to do and problems to solve that I haven't solved before, and having impact in what I'm doing and having really meaningful work. So it's almost the same, really. The things people hate is that when culture and not having impact and not having autonomy, when they don't have those things, and the things people love is when they do have those things. So it's really interesting that those are the kind of really big topics that we can talk about today. And if you go to the next one, Mauro, it's just one more little slide of numbers. The second question was, what's on your mind at the moment with your professional life? And again, this is just kind of summarizing the sentiment of what people actually typed in. The biggest one, how do I know if I'm on the right path? And maybe this is because we guided a little bit with some suggestions. So a lot of people wrote this one. How do I know if I'm on the right path? Or if I've chosen a path, how do I know if it's the right one? Or how do I figure out what my path is? Things like that. A few, like, is leadership the only way to level up? And what if I don't want to be a leader, kind of thing, a manager? How to get, a lot of people said how to get a job or get promoted or get noticed in a really tough world at the moment, especially. There were a few answers that were about figuring out whether I should stick with one thing and specialize or go broader and try lots of different things and broaden my skills, and how do I decide which one? And then of course as well, not of course, but a lot of how do I get noticed? How do I have influence? How do I get people to listen to what I'm saying, and feeling frustrated about not being able to have much influence over what you're doing, what we're doing in our careers. And then if you hit next again, Mauro, I think it's going to pop up a couple of little things. These are 2 direct quotes, of course, not saying who wrote them, but these, when I was just putting these, like taking these out of this big spreadsheet of all of your answers, these 2 really stuck out to me because I felt like they covered the sentiment of the whole thing. Someone wrote, "What is the job which will make me live a happy and fulfilled life?" Isn't that the big question for everyone? And then also, what's the secret to staying happy in your role and career when you feel a little lost and not an expert yet? So maybe also influenced by this state that we're in at the moment, Corona. How can I be happy? How can I choose the things that will make me happy? How do I know what the right choices are? A lot of this. So this is going to help really guide us in what we talk about through the event today. And that's it. So that was really just a little background of how everyone's feeling. And now I'd like to welcome Mauro Rego to actually host and interview and run the bulk of the event today. Hi, Mauro. Would you like to introduce yourself and say a little bit about who you are?
Hi, I'm Mauro. Welcome to my podcast tonight. No, I just got that from a project, but I'm running actually in studies. Like, people think that they can hear me better just because I have this microphone, but actually the microphone is off the whole time. So it's impressive what people get from that. But anyways, I'm really happy to be hosting this event tonight. It's actually my first time that I host anything online on that direction. So I like to see, like, everyone that has a camera open, you're going to really help me if you nod and laugh sometime when I say something, because that's going to help my self-esteem a lot. And you're going to help as well that I don't get like really wet armpits while I'm talking, because I'm really nervous right now. So I think the advertising of the event was kind of misleading because my picture is super big there. And I think I was just like one of those models that have big boobies that just attract people for the event. But actually, when you buy the product, you don't get the model with that. Because I'm here tonight not to talk about myself or to present anything. I'm actually here to interview people that are way more interesting than me. These are these 5 folks here that I think they did 3 things that for me are why make them interesting to be here and why they are worth to be interviewed. The first thing they did, that they cracked the Berlin design scene. So they are recognized here. They know people, actually, better saying, people know them. And that's that's something that's not often in Berlin, I realized. I thought, like, because everyone that go to the jam, you live in this small bubble. But the moment that you get out and people say, oh, I know who Diana is, I know who Matthias is. And that makes a difference. And it means that they really, like, Berlin is not really welcome city in terms of design work offers. I know a lot of people who haven't made it. Another thing that makes them really interesting, like, they share experience with different kind of industries. So you have like really retail, I don't know, clothes retail. I don't know how Zalando is positioned right now, to healthcare, to be way more like on consulting level. So we have like a different range that can speak from different perspectives. And more important than that, they took the job or the bastion to keep this community alive, especially in times of Corona. I think you guys hit the hot spot of saying, yeah, let's organize events now. Yay. And there is nothing happening anymore online. So I think you succeed in making that happen, although with all the struggles. And you can see that happening because people are just jumping online in the evening where they could have been doing like Netflix right now. So that's pretty cool. Good job, guys. So let's go for the questions without so much ado. So I prepared some of the questions that we are going through. And these are kind of a profile of these 5 folks in terms of what they studied, what was the first job they had. Everyone had a random job in their lives. And what's the current family status? Because I know that everyone must know if Adam is single right now. We won't be disclaiming that. So I'd like to start with the path, because I think that has already to do with the question that we made, like to you, like about the path. Am I in the right path or not? And I think this slide can tell a lot about that. So I'd like to ask you, how did you make the jump from your study or your silly job to your design job, to your first design job? How do you make this jump? maybe Adam, you can start.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I'm just wondering if my girlfriend's going to message me really angrily right now because I'm actually not single. Hi, Lisa. It's nice that you joined the event. Perfect timing. No. Sorry. How did I start my? What was the question? I'm so confused.
Yeah. So how did you went from your random job? I know that you had some kind of silly jobs around.
I was a
and
barista for a long time.
Design job. How did it happen?
I actually worked at the Creation Center, where I think you also worked at one point, Mauro, and they offered internships. So I worked for telecom, which was really quite a fun experience. And I think I just begged for this job and met up with great people in the service design experience camp, and they led me to that job. Yeah. The icon here is also because my first job was actually McDonald's, FYI. There you go.
And for Matthias, like, how did you move from your first job, or like your first job, to your design job that you have in Berlin? Because I remember you telling a story like you moved to Berlin a long time ago and kind of like crawl your path through the ladder.
Yeah, when I first moved to Berlin, I was freelancing and helping anybody that wanted to be helped as a designer, while I was paying the rent by cleaning houses and painting houses and these kinds of tasks on the side, babysitting as well. I think the way I did it was, like Adam just mentioned, by meeting a lot of people, talking to a lot of them, telling them what I wanted to do. And there was a point where somebody said, oh, we need somebody that can do something like that. Would you like to join? Yeah.
Yeah, I think what is interesting is that, like, in this the two kind of experience, it's something that Berlin requires you a lot, is to give a lot, and also like this random question: can I do the work here? Can I work here? That's how I also got my first job in Germany. Was simply like asking, and of course there is a survival bias, right? Like people always think that, oh yeah, I just know people that did that, so it might work, but it's not true. Like it's a lot of no's that you get before you get anything like that when that goes through. Another question I have about your profile is that for the two parents in the room, how did your family status change your relationship with your job?
Yeah, maybe I can start. So yeah, my relationship, yeah, I of course started to work part-time. Like I had to work less. And so this was the first really big impact on my job. And you kind of learn to set your priorities in a completely new way, you know. So it's really it was, for me, it was a steep learning curve. And but yeah, you have to learn to be clear, to be always very transparent about when do you have to leave, for example, or what is really important to you now, and then you can make it work. But yes, it's all about priorities, I have to say. Yeah.
Sorry, I got distracted. Just want to mention quickly that Joshua is sitting outside on the top of a building in t-shirts. It's not fair. I just wanted to say, from Berlin. Anyways, I'm happy for you though. For the parents, the family. So when I got the first and so far only child of mine, I was freelancing, and for me it was quite hard to manage being 100% at home when there were no gigs running, and then being almost 0% at home when I was freelancing somewhere away. And that really broke down the whole weekly routine, especially as a fresh parent, where you don't really know how the whole thing works, how the whole schedule works. And you have to figure out your new role. And for me, that was a time when my son was a year old when I went to being employed at a company from being a freelancer. That really helped to settle, have a routine, and make a clear divide between work and family life. And that really helped me as a fresh parent, as a fresh father, to figure out this new role of mine.
Yeah, I think what is interesting from that kind of experience is that a lot of people that I know keep asking themselves, am I doing the right thing right now? Like, can I have a child right now? For example, I'm 30, whatever, and I'm freelancing, and I don't know if I can make a child right now because I don't know how to make the child survive because I'm freelancing. And you can see that the experience that those folks are showing is that there is no right path. And I encountered that a lot as well, like people trying to justify where they are because they don't share the same path with the successful people that we know, right? You all think like I saw this tweet this other day, like saying, what would you ask to your design idol if you would encounter him or her? And the answer was, oh, I also wing in. Like everyone's pretending, everyone had a silly path, and like really few people had a really straightforward line of, oh yeah, I did everything. I studied interaction design and I got my first job in interaction design, and then I got promoted, and then I got a child. Like there is no telenovela success line, and the diversity here can prove that. Good. So, and you have guys that you also work in all different places, and that's another part of the path that I would like to discuss, and I also get a comparison. In the sense of people are always wondering, like, should I get a job at the agency? Should I freelance? Should I work in a startup? Should I do a consultancy in a corporation? Now all of you can make any question that you want about that because you have the whole scope here, right? And I'd like actually with the freelance life, like how is it freelancing in design nowadays, Diana?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. It's the first time in my life I've been a freelancer. You can see it's just like right at the end there. And it's just been for the last 1 year, actually. So just in time for Corona, which was awesome. Maybe my answer is I'm actually still not sure. It's going fine, but maybe also because I'm doing this kind of workshop-y, consulting-y, so maybe service design, but for companies to help figure out how they can survive in this world or how they need to adapt. So actually it's kind of a cool thing that in service design, you can apply the skills that you have to like mobile apps, but also like healthcare services, but also helping companies figure out what their strategy should be when the whole world flips on its head. So it's kind of a cool industry to be that's really translatable. So for me as a freelancer, and if others are thinking about going freelance, I think it's really a very possible and doable and manageable thing. Maybe also shifting what you think you know about what you do. Like if you've been wireframing and designing digital stuff, but you can use the same methods to run workshops or like do strategic kind of consulting for just something else, like helping a company figure out their agenda or their strategy in a changing world. So yeah, it's actually been pretty okay for me. Has anyone almost everyone else has been a freelancer too. Any thoughts, or Mauro?
Well, I just I had a very fascinating thought that is totally going the opposite way as your experience. Your experience is as you get towards seniority, you became a freelancer. For me, that was totally opposite. I was like, I didn't know what to do, so I'm a freelancer. And I tried myself out in different things, and then I learned, and now I have my focus and I work in a company. And you did the totally opposite, and I find it fascinating how different experiences people can have in their careers. And we're talking about 5 to 6 years, what we see right now, right?
Yeah. And I think I only became a freelancer. I thought about it for years and years, and I never felt confident enough to go, okay, I know what I'm doing. And I still maybe didn't, but I was just frustrated with just doing someone else's stuff. It's like, okay, I think I'm ready now. And I have no idea still if it's going to work out. But after like 11, 12 years, then I finally felt confident enough. But yeah, I've heard the other story so many times. Start out doing a freelancer, get some portfolio, get some work behind you, and then get a job. Yeah.
I have actually the same experience as Dee. Like I always never felt confident enough to do it. But for me, it was also it forced me. So I moved to Berlin from Frankfurt, and with no idea what to do next, and with no job and nothing. And so I had to freelance. I had to do something to earn money. and that was also quite helpful actually to get the freelancing done.
Yeah. There's a few good questions coming in the Q&A now. Don't forget, like, if you're hearing things and you want to talk about them in the Q&A, you have like maybe a chunk of time in the Q&A, open up that Q&A box and write questions now while we're going.
And I see that Mela and Matthias, they work both in a consultancy right now. And how does it differ? Like, consultants doesn't sound super designy or service design. What do you do there? What's the thing there?
It doesn't sound too designy. Well, technically, I'm a design consultant, so it includes the word design or innovation consultant, maybe. I think the difference for me, coming from agency and startup and also freelancing, but basically comparing it, is there's a lot of more politics because you're working with bigger corporations. At least in the consultancy I work for, the clients are always big organizations. So doing small things, design things, they always include a part where it's politics, talking to people, socializing things. There's a lot of things that you would not know or you would not see if you were working at a smaller company. And the startup for me, it was like a direct contact with the person I needed to collaborate with and the person that needed to do the thing for me, or it was just direct relationship. And in here, I need to go through layers of people until I get to a point where I'm talking to a person that actually does the thing. So consultancy for me means opening the hood of the car and seeing how it actually works, getting scared, and then just getting inside and trying to make it work.
Yeah, totally agree. So what I'm doing is also like, it's called strategic design. It's also like innovation consultancy, as you put it. And I sometimes feel actually like a fake designer because I started to work as a graphic designer in an advertising agency. Like, I mean, my education is also like pretty typical visual designy. And now I'm doing something that is called design, but I'm not doing anything related to what I did before. It's almost like a whole second career, what I'm doing right now.
What about you and Adam and Gabo? Like, you are inside, you're actually the client of those people most of the time. And how your work exists in this constellation?
I found the change really amazing. I think like going from a startup with Factory Berlin, where I had lots of hands-on opportunity to learn, and then finding where I fit into like my service design community at IXDS, and now going to a corporation. So I work at Zalando, and although I'm part of a more internal team that is centralized and we help do a lot of discovery work, I still get to spend, I mean, a year on a project. So the projects are really long, but also you're working with people that are in your same organization. So you really do build long-term, deep relationships. And I think the best thing here is that you get to go really, really deep into topics and really, really spend a lot of time. And I know someone in my team that's worked the last 4 years on convenience and checkout. So, you know, if you buy anything on Zalando, or maybe you did already, or maybe you're going to, you should buy stuff on Zalando. It's very good. No, I'm joking. Yeah, you turn into a representative of the customer. But what I wanted to say is the person who spent 4 years, or has spent, I think it's almost 4 years now, on just doing the checkout, she is so good at understanding every country's preference of shopping and difficulties and the intricacies of, you know, what it means to be in the Nordics or as opposed to, you know, pay after in the southern countries. And I think that depth of knowledge you can only get when you're in a big corporation. So that's been really, really interesting for me.
Yeah, following up on that, I work in a hospital and work in Germany for, you know, 80 hospitals, and in Spain, 50 hospitals. You can imagine the vast size of that system. And I've been there for 3 years, and I can say around these months that I arrived, I understand how this whole thing works. And I totally agree with Adam that I like the context. I have now the context that I'm working, and I enjoy it. and I'm giving up a lot of designer things, a lot of things that I've done before to deepen the craft. But on the other side, I'm learning a lot of stuff that is related to the context, how hospital works, how medicine works, how nursing works. And that I think that combination of applying my craft, applying the craft in this context, and having an impact by doing whatever I do the way I do it, is just the right point in time in my career, and I really enjoy it. I think I can totally imagine that it's gonna be. I can totally imagine spending the next 30 years here, and I'm still gonna be, oh, there is still a new cancer research that I'm not aware of, as anyone doing in the careers, and I can totally imagine still having the T model, or not even a T, like just like the horizontal model of working in a hospital after 30 years, because you can just slightly learn a lot about different things, but you're never gonna, as a designer, you're never gonna work for a hospital, or not. You're gonna work for a hospital. You're never gonna be, deeply involved in healing people, but you're gonna be able to understand the tons of different languages and interests in this whole system, and that's a definitely different mindset that a freelancer has.
Maybe you could quickly, just in case people want to Google it or even find a link to share in the chat, the T model, the T thing, there's T and pi and horizontal, Gabor, like
I know a T, I know Y and T. Like this, I don't know this one.
It's like T, like deep in kind of one thing, but also broad skills.
Yeah.
Pi, like maybe you're a developer and a designer, but you also have broad skills, and then, but you get the idea. What's the Y?
Like Y is being a doctor.
Okay, just like one. Yeah.
Like,
okay.
Hematology, and you're hematologists, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, that's a very like an everyday topic in a hospital. You have a lot of whys. Like the whole hospital world is all about whys, or not whys, sorry, I's. The letter I.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah. And nobody knows how to speak with the other one. So how you imagine working, initiating new things, or getting or achieving new values by crossing all the different silos that we've been talking for the past 10 years, where people just can't do that. And you have to do a lot of groundwork to achieve that. And that's basically my job right now.
Yeah, I think what I think is fascinating from these, and I love to see the questions popping up, that you are collecting now the questions for the later session. But there is this match between like, okay, in which moment of your life you would like to do agency work, which moment that your life wants you to do corporation work, because that's also not a choice that you can make. If you're privileged enough, you usually can get that sense of feeling of, okay, I can't do agency anymore, I want to go in-house, and then there is a position that finds you, right? But I would not underestimate any of those positions, because you can move that role really, like you can be a consultant and still be inside of a big corporation, or you can work really like crafty when you are in a consultancy. So I don't think that that's defined, but just be open for the challenge you get. Yep. So next question. And I know that like all the work now seems really happy, and especially with this like titles of strategic design consultant. I have no idea what you do with that. I would like to know like a bit of how your day look like. So that's a picture of a day of each one of them, right? Like each kind of activities they have to fulfill. And of course, you see that none of the, like, except Matthias, there are some like some dislikes on some activities. I think that Matthias is really happy about his work. I can see that. My question, not for Matthias because he's happy. My question for the others is, how do you cope with the things that you don't like to do in your work? Because I think like the things that you like to do and convince you is pretty good, right? But I believe that a lot of people say, oh, either the work is like the best work of my life and fulfills every little piece in my in my wishes, or it's crap. And every work has like 20, like I would say varies from 50 to 60% like crap thing that you have to do. And I'd like to know, like, how do you cope with your bad moments, like with the bad thing that you have to do? Maybe Adam, you can start.
How do I deal? Yeah. And I have to say, even this pixel pushing part that I put in my happy part, which I really enjoyed doing and getting into Figma and pulling, UX flows together, I have recently just stopped doing that because of the pivot of the project. So I'm back to more meetings and more meetings. I don't, yeah, there's a lot of meetings and it can get frustrating dealing with the politics of the organization. And the idea that I try and, like the metaphor that I try and remember is, if you want to be a really good painter, you need to do a lot of preparation so that the paint goes on properly and you can get it perfect in the first try or the first or second try. And I think that's what a lot of the meetings and things are most of the time within Zalando in the organization. So you meet with all of your stakeholders, you meet with the people that are influencing the decisions, that meet with the engineers, you meet with the product managers again and again and again. But then once you finally do start pushing pixels and you start creating the workflows, they get a lot of traction really, really quickly. And I think that's what kind of makes me go through those meetings. I think my role also in the meetings as a designer and as someone with a strong facilitation skill set, which I developed through agency life and stuff like that, is also to give structure and outcome to those meetings. So I would never be so satisfied if I just attended meetings, but I really try and participate and get involved in those meetings. So I think it also depends on your motivation, your willingness to make something out of them. But yeah, that's the struggle.
And you, Dee, how do you cope with your documenting shit?
I'm really excited to answer this question because I feel like it's changed my life this last year that I've been freelancing. So just how do I cope with the things that I don't like doing? Since I became a freelancer, and the reason I became a freelancer was because I just wanted to control what I would do. And if someone says, hey, could you do this work? I can say, no. And that was the main reason why I was like, I want this control. The things that I don't like doing, like actually what's not on here really is like emailing back and forth when to talk about potentially doing something, and like I've spent so much time and I'm not even getting paid for this, emailing back and forth, scheduling things, documenting and doing, emails are the worst. Doing unnecessary documentation or unnecessary work that is going to go in a PDF in the drawer kind of thing. Is since I became a freelancer, but I think I could have been doing this the whole time of my career, I've tried to find ways to work around, to get rid of these things, to avoid these things or work around them. So emailing back and forth, I have email templates now, which of course I then edit a bit to make it custom to talk about someone. And it's just little things like I don't have to write every time, oh, that sounds super interesting, I'd really love to chat more. Let's talk about, like, cool, I just have to. And then scheduling, I have one of those calendar tools like Calendly, or you can book me and it says, that sounds great, let's have a chat, find a time here. And so it's not 2-3 emails more back.
That looks like really the last SMS you sent me. Now I'm going to be very careful now.
Sorry. That sounds great, let's talk more. And with documentation and this other kind of stuff that as designers we're like, oh God, now I have to make the document. Which maybe you can only do as a freelancer. I tell potential clients about the way that I work and how I'm the most valuable. I word it like that, but it's really, I don't want to do this stuff, so I can be more valuable to you if I do this other stuff. And say, look, you'll be wasting your time and money if you pay me to do a document. I don't think we need a document. I think we can use the Miro board that we end up with, and I can spend an hour summarizing it for you. And then they're like, wow, that sounds much better. And just like almost manipulating the situation to make it sound, but I think it is also more valuable to do less of the bullshit work. So yeah.
Can I ask a question, Dee? When did you get into that mentality where I've written this email now 3 times, I'm going to make a template? When did that start to click for you, and how did you?
Well, for me personally, I really had this big life change where I decided to quit my job and go freelance because of this reason of being frustrated with having to do things that I was told or asked to do, and I wanted more control. So it was almost, I went in with that vibe, that idea. Okay, how can I make my freelance life awesome? And literally got I'm sitting at my desk and I've just got random post-it notes because I just keep, they're my favorite thing in the world. Literally did a little workshop on myself. Like, what can I do? Oh, I can pay $5 a month for a calendar tool so I don't have to check my email every day and back and forth. Great, little things. But for other people, it might be different, but frustration is usually a really good trigger. If you're frustrated and annoyed by something, think for a second, write some stickies of how can I avoid this, or how can I get around this?
Another question, how, like not specific for you, but for the team, like how can you potentialize exactly the things that you love inside of your work? So how can you make the bar that you have there like grow under the emoji with like high hearts?
I think the things that you like and you love, you show that you like and you love as you're doing them. And if you find the audience to value those, then you get a winner. Because if you're good at facilitating and they need facilitation because they are unstructured or they have these circular conversations, then you will be called again and again to help with that. And it just fits back to what you like doing. It's always a dangerous activity because sometimes you're good at something that you don't necessarily love, but you keep on doing that. But I guess because it's your priority, you invest more time, more love, and more effort in doing something. And if you're good at that, you will be called to do that again. For me, an example of that has been talking to people in the teams I work with, but other people from other teams, where they ask for advice or for a second opinion, or for like, what should I do in this situation? And if they find that useful, then they keep on asking for more, and I enjoy this conversation. So for me, it's like, oh, I'm doing something that I really like, and it's being recognized, so it just keeps on coming. Sometimes it's hard to find what you like, but then just try everything.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that when you say about, oh, you're probably gonna do something that you don't like that much, but you do really well, and you ended up being cornered, being the person that only do that, and then you are. Sometimes you can do something that you really like and you do really well, but then it's kind of wear off, like you get sick of doing that thing, and that's also dangerous. But I think the main message is quite clear, like you're gonna have to invest time to make public what you do well. Like it's a bit like when I was freelancing, I got this advice from a friend, and he said, only publish the work that you want to keep doing. So you can do all the kind of work, but only show the people in your portfolio the work that you want to do. Although you can do a lot of such stuff, but that thing is the only thing that you do now. And that kind of like resonated a lot, because suddenly I was just getting a lot of illustration jobs. I was like, oh, I never got illustration jobs before. And that kind of kept working. And it worked in the same way inside of corporation and inside of like and consultants and so on, because you start being the person to be for that thing.
Yeah, and to that, you especially in bigger offices or bigger corporations, you somehow you need to have a role, and by that I mean you need to. Who are you in the organization? What's your character? What are you known for? And with deciding what you are known for, you are creating that work that you want to do. I think that's important also to bear in mind, that where you focus your attention is what you will become known for, much like when you're presenting this work instead of this other work on your portfolio. That's what you are presenting yourself with. So people are reading from that. That's what you want to continue doing. Yeah.
I
yeah, and adding.
Sorry, go ahead.
Adding to that, actually, like working in a consultancy, I'm just realizing right now is you have to have the mindset of a freelancer in a way. You don't need to, you're not the one responsible to getting the jobs actually, but as you said, you have to have allies, you have to network, you have to show what you can do, to be staffed on the projects that you really like to do.
Yeah, and I see like some of the questions about like getting a job and getting to the market and so on, and a lot of like junior designers trying to do strategy. I see a lot of this push, like I love to do strategy, but I just finished university, or like I have no experience on strategic design. Is there what is the entry level? Like, what do you recommend people to do, like to kind of inside of this activity range that you have here? Like, what do you recommend? Like, how can I get to that? How can I do my entry level job? How can I do my entry level job not doing something that I love? That's the main point.
I think did you have a good answer, Adam? No, I think I just saw you were unmuted, but I think I maybe have just one, and I was going to bring it up later also, but I feel like maybe you want to do business strategy or like strategic design, but you can't get a job as a strategic designer when you're entry level, because you what do you base all that strategy on? But you can, maybe I don't know if I'm making this up, but if you want to do strategic design because you like seeing the big picture and you like solving complex problems, then maybe there's jobs like my first real job out of university was in a IT support desk, IT help desk, solving problems. And then I was like a assistant project manager, which was also kind of solving a problem, like projects as problems to solve. And then I didn't realize when I connected the dots on the way back, it's like every job I had, even though I started in like tech support, was tech support, and then UI design, and then like product design, and then service design, and then UX, whatever, now strategy stuff. It's all been like, because I like solving problems and understanding problems. And so I didn't realize at the beginning, but maybe if you start somewhere that just feels like you're still doing the kind of thing that you like to do, whether it's solving problems or making things visually beautiful, or maybe you have a job that's not what you actually want, but it's doing the kind of thing that you like doing. Does anyone have an addition to that, like Mauro or anyone else? It's just a very small.
I mean, how do you get trusted with the big pictures to do small picture stuff first? I think that's always like developing a track record, I think is something that you want to do. And the best advice I ever got when I started doing like industrial design is to do like you're going to do a lot of bad products. So just get them out of the way first, and then you'll start to get on the good stuff. And I think you probably don't want all the responsibility of being a strategic design for a big department or something when you're still in the forming stages of doing a lot of shitty work, because that'll stick with you for a long time. Where if you're doing like smaller projects and shitty strategies and figuring out what works and what doesn't work, that's going to, well, you can leave that behind. I don't think anyone is going to go look at my work at Creation Center in telecom. Maybe it's somewhere on the internet, I hope not, because I literally developed a board game for the top 100 finance people of telecom, and it was awful. And like, I mean, it felt really good when we were doing it, and we did the workshop also in Phantasialand, and it was really fun and exciting. But now if I look back at that work, I'm going to be embarrassed. So like, I would also, use the start small and then grow from there method. But and sometimes nice to distance yourself.
I think this is my opinion about considering jobs shitty or shitty parts of the job. I think there is a point at the beginning where you have an expectation to what a job is, but until you do it, you don't know how it exactly is, especially when you are just starting. And there's a lot of things that you will learn doing shitty jobs that will stay with you for a long time. So starting in let's say you don't want to be an ad agency kind of designer, but you will learn a lot of things, practical things there that will help you further priorities, managing your time, things that are basic to doing any other work. So I think even what is considered a shitty job from the outside might be helpful for you to begin with. So much like you were all saying, you won't start being the strategic designer that handles the strategy for a DAX 50. You will start doing shitty jobs that will teach you a lot of things that you will need when you get to that job.
I would like to add something else. I think isn't it also more a kind of a mindset? Like, we're talking about shitty jobs, but even if you're an entry in strategic design, you might do something that is maybe it's not like providing the big strategic direction, but you're the one talking to the user, for example, and doing the research. So you can consider this a shitty job over the years because this is something that you would like to overcome, or I don't know, to grow, or you have done it so much that you're tired of it. But I think it's also kind of a mindset, like pick the part of the job that you really like, and then grow from there, and don't just say it's a shitty job, because in the end it's not, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, the one experience I have that is at Factory Berlin, I was also doing floor plans, right? And that's totally not within the role of a service designer. And I was like, well, this is just completely meaningless and out of the scope. But yeah, I think you only see that in hindsight, I would say. Yeah, as well.
So talking about like entry level jobs and talking about how to start your career. So my question is, how did it start? Like, really quick, and how is it going? Matti,
well, it's kind of funny because mine relates to that, which is I really thought I was the best in the biz when I started at Creation Center, and I was rocking it with the kids at Phantasialand, and so I felt like I've got all my shit together. So actually I'm Homelander I'm the bottom left GIF with Homelander because I thought I was the bee's knees, but actually now I can say without a doubt, winter is coming, and it's long, and we need to be prepared. And I feel like going into the depth of Zalando's deep bowels of design, I'm much more willing to get ready and lead in this winter time.
Maybe I'll quickly do mine right next to Adam on the bottom on the right. Like, maybe if I've been in my career for like 11, 12 years, like really the first half of it was like this balance, like this thing on the left of like, I don't even know where I'm reaching, but I'm just going to try and grab something, and oh wait, maybe that was too far. Really not the first year or 2 or 3, like 6, 7 years, feeling like this, like, oh, what am I doing now? And then the last year really has been like the one on the right, and then the rest is somewhere in between, like, okay, I think I can do it now. I think I feel confident but it really took a lot of time to be like, okay, I'm chill now. I'm just not growing and expanding too much, but resting on like the base of the last 11 years, and maybe then in a few years of having restful, I feel confident, then maybe I'll branch out into something and feel like on the left again.
I can go next. I'm the top left. Much like Mela, I studied graphic design, and I started working on an agency, and it was the standard printed graphic design. Especially, I come from Argentina, so the maturity of the design industry 15 years ago was different. So I was doing a lot of painting pretty pictures, and I felt I was awesome doing that. It was so much fun, and going to the printer and signing the colors and the calibration. I'm super happy with this. Let's make 50,000 of this magazine. Nowadays, it's all about talking to people and convincing them about things and getting things moving. So my work has moved from painting pretty pictures to telling stories to people and making them do stuff for me that will end up doing something for people. So it's a lot of convincing, it's a lot of microphones, and now it's a lot of calls. It has changed quite a lot, yes.
Yeah, I can go next, and I'm the second one, like the free floating dog in space. So this was also, I felt completely lost when I started was like, nothing worked. What I've learned, what I was used to do, even like the language was totally different. Because suddenly I have to talk to consultancy people, and I have like kind of this designy, like I can deal with ambiguity because I'm a designer, right? But the consultant, like when they start a project, they actually know how it will end. So this was really like culture clashes, and I didn't understand where I was at that point, and now it's like kind of, yeah, it feels like I'm a pro, but it's still kind of dangerous, and sometimes it also like the wave can hit you, and then you're destroyed for a second, and then yeah, so it still feels a bit dangerous, but I somehow make it through.
I'm the last one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I still remember when I started my first freelancing work for a company called Dark Horse in 2014 in Berlin. It was a young company with a lot of creative freedom, and we started working on my very first service design job. And I wasn't even a service designer back then. I was like the guy who jumped on the project, and we went for lunch. And then I was asking the rest of the team who went for the lunch was asking me, "So what is your role?" And I was like, "I don't know. Who am I?" And then the couple of people working with me sitting at a table were like, "Service design?" And I'm like, yeah, it's service design. So from that was the moment I started to be a service designer, whatever that was. But I knew it was a service design project. I didn't find myself a service designer. So there was a lot of pretending, and a lot of like shuffling around with the titles and job positions and who are you and what are you and what do you do. And I remember starting at BCG DV, I became the strategic designer. That was 2017. And I think first came the position, then came the responsibility in a way. And I grew into those roles, then the other way around, which was a very interesting experience to go through this whole thing. And nowadays, how is it going? I remember, or I feel the responsibility a lot in my work. So I'm way more cautious than designing a car sharing service or than designing, a heating system. Because whenever I work, even if I'm not having the direct effect on the patient security, for example, or treatments, I still work with nurses and doctors, and there we feel that it's not. It really counts what you do. For one, these are serious people, and for the second one, you want to build up a trust, and you want to work with them a long time, and you don't want to verspielen in English. You don't want to play with the trust that they're putting into new initiatives because they're skeptical people. And I became very cautious and became very conscious about the choices I make so that I can really build up the trust of the people, the colleagues I'm working with.
Nice. So next question. How did you get your job?
I can start. I was recruited, so my current job, somebody got in touch with me and they asked me if I wanted to have a conversation with them. And I think one of the things I've learned since I moved to Berlin is I'm always up for a conversation. Recruiter, a super junior designer or VP of innovation in the gigantic organization, I'm always in for a conversation. And this was one of those. I had a conversation with a recruiter. It was all in German. I thought that went well because I was asking a lot of questions, trying to understand what was it about. And they said, you sound like an interesting profile. Let me get you in touch with somebody else. And then I was on a Skype call with 3 people from Berlin. And that was actually one of the best conversations I've had in a long time. At that time, I was actually searching for a job. And then there was a party, and I got into the party, and I met 2 of the 3 people that I had this conversation with, and another person that asked me, "Are you looking for a job? We're looking for people." Well, I'm actually having conversations with them. And yeah, one thing led to the other, but it all started with a conversation that I could have just said no to because it was a random recruiter without any information. And yeah, again, for me, it's not only about job searching. It has always been like a constant that I can have a chat with or like a conversation or a coffee with people that get in touch, because you can hear great stories, you can learn a lot, and maybe you can also get a job. Yeah.
Yeah, you go.
Go next. Go next.
No, you go. You go. I talk too much. You go.
I'm Mr. Rick Ross in the bottom left, and because I was hustling. That was the first word that came to my mind. A current job I got, I put a lot of effort into creating a network throughout those freelancing years. Of course, that's how you get the job as a freelancer. You get known, and then you pop into the minds of people when they're looking to staff a project, an agency or whatever. And I was putting a lot of effort into those networks and people and stuff. And then my current job I got through a cold email. And I didn't know anyone at the company. We had the first conversation, and they found me very interesting because I was, hustling a lot as a freelancer. And then as a consequence, I made an extensive network. I had not a lot, but I had some experience, some interesting experience. And they liked who I was and what I was hustling on in the past years as a freelancer. So that was an interesting combination.
Maybe I want to quickly add, I wanted to tell the story. I'm the bottom right again with the typing, but really similar vibe to both of you, Gabor and Marty, that I wanted to tell, this is a story of not how I became a freelancer, but how I got a job when I lost my job. I lost my job because the startup I was working for made half the company redundant. And suddenly one day to the next, I literally did that thing where you go to your desk and you have that meeting, you pick up your stuff off your desk and you go and you don't come back. And it was so stressful and scary, and it never happened to me before. And suddenly I didn't have a job, and And I also just then reached out. So I didn't get recruited, but I reached out to people that I knew already. So the common theme with the other guys is that I had already, luckily, had some years in Berlin, just help volunteering at events and helping people run meetups and getting to know people. And then I just reached out in a super authentic way with all of my templates. No. Hey, really interesting conversation. But just reached out and said, oh my gosh, hey, guess what? This happened. Is there any chance there's anything going at your job? Can I meet someone? Can I come in and have a coffee with someone? Really just straight up being honest about what happened. And then one of those led to the next job not too long after. But the key takeaway, I think, is like, even if the stress for you right now is I need a job right now, and you're applying and like just on LinkedIn, like submitting tons of applications, it's really hard right now actually with Corona, but still make the effort to build the connections no matter where you are and what you're doing. And if you're comfortable and have a job, like just still be interested in the scene and be interested in the people, and offer to help someone with their event or offer to do something for some public thing. Like do those things, because when you need it, then people will be like, you'll say, hey, this just happened to me, and someone will be like, oh my God, what can I do for you? Instead of feeling stressed and alone.
Yeah, I can go next. Maybe I have a very different story actually. In 2015, when I decided to when I was asking myself again, what do I want to do for living? I was just thinking about going into this whole innovation and service design space. So I had a couple of agencies that I would have loved to work with, and also like considering freelancing, and also BCGDB on my list. And I was like, okay, I felt super insecure to apply to DV, and I was super sure that it's not the right company for me. But I thought, yeah, maybe it's worth just to have the conversation with the people. And this is why I have this let it go, because it was, for me, it was like, okay, I don't even want to work here. I'm just here because I'm curious and to hear about you. So I just throw myself into this whole thing. And then it turns out that it was pretty awesome. and I loved, to talk to the people and got the job there. So this was like, I think, retrospective, like it was more this, I was super relaxed and just open and curious when I went to talk to the people, and this made it work for me.
Yeah, I think mine's nice. I liked it. I also remember having this conversation in Cash Cash was the coffee shop that we always met at when we organized the jams all those years ago. I remember this actually happening in real life. So it was also quite an interesting. And I remember the disruption and the confusion, and also all those times that you could have moved on to other jobs as well and stuck there. I think that's also interesting, that this conversation of job hunting and getting a job is continually ongoing. And I think that's also something that maybe, I don't know, I'm not sure if it's a fantasy or if it's just that I realize this, but job hunting and being secure in a job and having job conversations never really stop. It's always on the go. And that's something. Anyway, my story is a little bit different, because I remember the first conversation I had with Jay Kaufman, who was the hiring manager for designers at Zalando many years ago, at the first conference, I think, Interaction in Helsinki or something, like 4 or 5 years ago. And then I met the team there, and we also did a jam for the Zalando team 5 years ago, where I met a good friend, Jana, and she's the employee branding there. So even like all those years ago, no, it was 4 or 5 years ago, I even applied for a job then, and they're like, no, we don't have any positions. And then I was like, okay, that's fine. Like, and then I remember having a coffee with Ray, who was a manager there, and Jay, who was a manager there. And I'm like, I'm interested. Do you think you could take on a service designer? And no, maybe just apply. Yeah, we'll see. Didn't get the job. Okay. And then I was like, no, but I really think Zalando could benefit from like someone with my skill profile. This is what I can do for you. Oh yeah, no, we're just not interested in you right now. Okay. And I was like, come on, these guys must know I want a job there. Obviously, when a job comes available, they're gonna ask me. And then I remember me and Dee did a German class, and one of our other companions on the German class is working in HR there. And I'm like, hey, HR person, can you just like, how do I get a job at Zalando? She's like, oh, here's the link. You can just put up your portfolio and apply. And I was like, okay, I'll do that, but I'm sure this is not going to work. And then they're like, oh, Adam, we had no idea you were interested in working at Zalando. I'm like, oh, come on. What's wrong with you people? Anyway, so I was also a little bit enraged. But yes, then I did get the job. So had to ask and ask and ask again, and then ask again, and then ask for another favor on top of that. I know that is absolutely exhaustive and probably not the thing you guys want to hear. But I think, as you can see, that relationship developed over time and over time and over time. And I think this has also been common from the first job that I really got, which was for Factory Berlin, is that I won 2 hackathons that they were hosting to get that job. So automatically when I was in the interview, I was with people that I already knew, and they already knew about me as well. So like, I think like, yeah, by engaging in the community, their events, their blog posts, whatever, you really do up the chances. I've tried not to walk into interviews without knowing the person who's interviewing me. So I think that's also helped, because I'm probably not the best designer, so I can't get through on skills, so I get through on the social context, let's say.
Like when you're born ugly, right?
Yeah,
like when
yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm short, nothing on Mauro, so,
No, but
yeah, let me add to this, actually, what you just said, Adam, with knowing the people. I realized also, like, because I saw that there was a question about the portfolio and how do you get your portfolio done earlier. I think the more people you know, the less portfolio you need. So and also like I experienced your hustling, Adam, in real time, right? So how you started to network and get to know people and went to every single event. This is by the way also something I really did when I started in Berlin. I was like, I don't know, on every event, every evening, just to get to know people. And in the end, it always pays off. Yeah.
I have something to add to that. Like, I also didn't apply. I never applied for a job in my life, like application thing. Like I never send a submit application thing. I was just doing free work I was doing really free work my entire life, and I get approached by people, and like my job right now works similar direction. Like I got invited for a coffee that I didn't have to attend, and here I am, right? And I think the main concern that people have, like, I think people go with an agenda when they try to invite you or when you push for a coffee, and that's problematic. But if you go with the pure, like, willing to contribute to the community, and people get to know your work, and that's how things start rolling. Because the question, like, if you just come and say, hey, I want to help you, like basically you got to approach a lot as soon as you have a job for people looking for jobs, right? And people inviting you for coffees and so on, and you can smell agenda behind that, right? And that's not the right way to approach, like, but contributing, like offering yourself for helping. Like I was cleaning events, the jams, when I started in Berlin, like, right? And that's the thing, like you get involved in the community because you really want to contribute in that level, and then people get to know you, basically.
Mauro, I was just thinking, I think we have to go to questions now.
Oh, maybe. But there is one last question. I think people want to.
Right.
Okay.
One last one, quick.
No, two more, please. But you guys go faster. That okay?
There's so many questions.
It's our fault. You're talking too much.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's your impossible?
Let's do 2 seconds.
So what's the thing that you expect to do that you know that you do crappy in your work, but even though you're winging in?
I'm always a little bit afraid that I'll break the law. I'll design something that breaks the law because I just don't understand it. Also working in German or understanding all of the intricacies. So that's always, like, also with my tax, I think that's my imposter syndrome, where I'm just going to end up in jail because somehow I've done something really bad without knowing.
Mine is next to Adam on the right, and it's like I can't actually design visual stuff very nicely at all.
Okay, wait, let me see if you are okay. It says first shake.
Oh, okay. Caroline,
Sorry,
can you?
Thanks, Caroline.
Yeah, well, so my imposter syndrome is that I often think I'm not sure if what I'm contributing is like is really worth it, and then I tend to just run away.
Yeah, for me, and the right one is just sitting around hospitals and doing real nothing, just taking up people's time. That's my feeling a lot, and then yeah.
Yeah, and I'm basically having business conversations with businessmen and pretending to be a business person all the time.
You have to pull out your business card.
Cool. Last question for me. How can I have your job? So now I'd like to have your job. How can I do that?
Can I go quickly first? Mine's the bottom middle. Just keep trying things and don't worry about if they're going to be the right thing to be successful or not. Just think, that looks interesting. I'll give that a go and see how it feels.
I can go next. So top left, basically, even if there are no job postings, just get in touch with anyone from Fjord, get in touch with me, and then we'll start from there.
Yeah, I have to go next because it's the same for DV actually, and especially for strategic design. We are often looking for people, so just talk to us.
Mine is the bottom left one with the hello there. I just put a link in the chat. You can say hi there, literally, quite literally. Go to the link now, click on it and apply, and then you can come have my job.
And mine is the bottom right. Well, I got a lot of not a lot of, but from time to time, oftentimes I get requests from people being interested in working in what I do, healthcare, and people tend to mix up healthcare and hospital. Well, because of course, there's sort of the same thing, but they're two very different things. And what I realize a lot is that designers or people from our field or people who are here actually in this call are not. I had to give a lot of things that I want to do working here, and I'm not really sure if that. I mean, you really have to think through if you are willing to give up love from the craft to work in this field. Yeah.
All right, cool. I got chills in this last question. Let's go for the questions here.
Oh, yeah.
And just gonna see which ones are the popular ones.
So if you didn't yet, open up that Q&A panel, top right corner with the shapes like the triangle, circle, square, and go to the Q&A and vote for other people's questions so that we get we answer the ones that are most interesting for the most people.
So the first question is from Matthias. How do you decide what type of agency or big corp agency suits you? Maybe you can rephrase that, Matthias.
I copy pasted it from the chat, so it will.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't remember who asked it, so sorry. But
Can I
go,
go
Dee.
for it.
I think it was Raquel, maybe, I think. But yeah, if I can give my really quick answer, I think, is you don't decide, you try, and you go, how does this feel? Do I like it here? No, I'll try something else. And that's almost like a motto for life as well. It's my motto for life.
Yeah. If you don't try, you will not know. In this particular context, in big agencies or big corporations, it's difficult to compare it with other things. So just try it and then see if you like it or not. And not every big agency will be as another big agency. So maybe you need to try a couple even, if you want.
Yeah, and another thing is like your experience is so related to the people that you work with that you can be in the same, like I can be in the same company as somebody else that's going to have a shitty time and I'm having a great time of my life. And we are just working in the same company. So don't get those like as a try out other teams as well. Cool. I'm gonna skip this one. How do you like Adam's mustache? I think we have a overall opinion about that. How do you decide when it's time to move from agency to big corp or to freelance? When do we make the jump?
I think for me, it was when I wanted to learn different things about my skill profile. So what took me from Factory Berlin as a startup to IXDS was when I thought, I'm working a lot by myself. I wonder what it's like to collaborate and how do I collaborate with other designers? And then when I moved from IXDS to Zalando, it was like, I'm really sick of having my stuff shoved in drawers all the time. I wonder what it's like to dive deep. So that's what guided me to switch.
Yeah, I would say it's very personal, the timing. So I wouldn't say there's a formula. I take a long time to switch. If I look at the time I spent in each place, I really stay for a long time in each place. Not because I'm unsure to move to the next one, but because I always find interesting things to do while I'm at the place. But what Adam just said, it's similar to what I feel like when I see that I would like to grow on something that I cannot find anymore in the workplace, then I look for another place that might give me that. Yeah.
Or if you need a promotion. I've heard people switch when they didn't get a promotion.
Yeah, it's like 2 years up or out.
Exactly. Pragmatic, yeah.
Joshua, should you name your question? Joshua Stea, I don't pronounce it. Maybe he's not calling. Oh yeah,
yes, I'm here.
Hello.
I was wondering. Hello, everyone. I was wondering about how I think D maybe, but other people just overcoming this kind of battle with the portfolio. And I guess like what would be an answer that you couldn't Google for as well, because I've Googled it quite a lot, like of course getting into the mindset, doing the whole MVP approach, getting yourself into this mentality that no one actually cares more about your portfolio than you do, all of this stuff. I'm wondering if you have any like other sort of unconventional advice as well.
Well, as I said before, it's like just get to know the people, talk to them, and then if they know you and they have like kind of the trust that you can do stuff, then you don't you don't have to show them your customer journeys you've done or something like this, you know. Yeah, that would be my tip here.
I completely agree, and it's like it sounds like such a like, oh yeah, just get to know the people, but it's almost like a lifelong mindset shift in the way that you like. We've talked about this already tonight. Like, just I hate the word just, but shifting your perspective to not just think networking is just to get a job, but to build like just to be interested in what you're doing and build connections, and if someone's doing something cool, offer your feedback for them, or like offering things and building those networks. And then like I'm like Mauro, I haven't never had a portfolio, but I'm also not a visual designer actually. So I don't have a website or a portfolio, and I think it's just because of the high networky stuff.
And just one thing that is translating what they are saying with the way I see it. Think of your portfolio also as another project that you're taking. And one of the things that you want to know is who's your user, who's going to read your portfolio, what do they care about? Because you could do so many things with your portfolio, but what do they care? And by doing that, you're already focusing on the places that are going to be interesting to you, and not everything, because you cannot try to accommodate for everyone. And that exercise itself is a conversation that you're having with them, and you're getting to know them. And then you get to the point where you already know who they are. You have a conversation at the same level, or at least at the same level of interest. And it happens more naturally than you think once you start.
I think maybe, I'm just guessing maybe, Josh, that it's not how do I do it right? It's like the battle of redoing it so many times. And I don't know if that's true. But
I can answer something around that, like about the portfolio, because as you say, like I don't have a portfolio and I'm a visual designer, so it's like that's a bad thing. But actually, what I had was every time I applied for a job, every time I had to, like, although I had the conversations, I still have to prove myself to whoever is hiring. So I still have to do a portfolio and so on. I was always doing a portfolio for the position. So I always designed my portfolio, and it was a lot of work. I have a lot of like documents here, but it was always designed for that position that I'm applying right now. If you go public, like if usually what you put online is not what you send to people. People in the company want to see that you put effort in applying and you are answering every single question inside of that job position. And if you have just like a vitrine full of like random work that doesn't answer anything from the company for the position, they really don't care. The moment that I see that you put so much effort in presenting that, like for me, it's like you're already somewhere else on the status.
Mauro, you can say no 100%. I'm putting you on the spot, but is there any chance you would have one of those portfolios you designed for a company that you would be willing to share with this group? Not right now, this second, but, or is it all very kind of personal and you don't want to share that?
I can check if I can share the one that I applied for Google, but I have to check if there is nothing there that's like bad.
It would be really interesting to see how you customize it for, but yeah, cool. Thanks. Sorry.
So one more question, I think.
I think we're obviously going to go a little bit over time, but yeah, maybe we should we do some closing things for people who have to leave and then stay and answer some more questions for those that can stay? Or
let's do one more question and then we can wrap up.
Okay, Raquel, are you there, Raquel?
Go for it. No.
Raquel?
She left us already, maybe.
Yeah.
She's good. And she's had a dark screen right now.
We can just say, right?
Okay.
Yep.
We don't have to. Yeah.
Let's talk about money. Which type of company gives you more? Freelancing, agencies, or big corp? Oh.
If you're in for the money, this is
It's
gonna be problematic.
Freelancing.
Yeah.
Freelancing. And
I guess
I
freelance.
mean, I remember in my high times, I could make a very decent living as without a kid of 5 months of freelancing if you can book it full. I mean, if you can book yourself for 10 months and you have 2 months free, 2 months off, then you're pretty well off.
I think it's good. Like in Germany, there's a taboo of not talking about the money, and I think that's problematic because then you have an uneducated environment. So as a freelancer, as a service designer, it really depends on what kind of job you're doing. But my charge when I was freelancing was, if I'm doing something from my office that doesn't require, like you give me the job and I'm working from my office in the time that I want to just have a deadline, it's like one job thing. It costs from 600 to 800 per day. That was like 2017, 2018. And if you are making me go to work at the client side, it goes to, if it's a short-term project, it goes for 1,100 per day, the short-term. If the long-term, 800. And if I have to do workshops, it's 1.5 from start. It goes up to 2.5. So that's kind of like the rates that you get. As a designer in Berlin, I only know the rates in Berlin. If you're working agency and you are a senior designer, you get a range from 50 to 70 if you're really lucky to find a position that gives you 70 as a senior designer. If you're a lead designer, you go from...
Yeah, you're talking...
Sorry?
You're talking annual salary.
Yeah, annual salary.
Like 50 to 70. That was my experience when I was hiring people and when I was getting hired, like getting offers. Lead design go from 65 to 80. If 80 like is you won't find that, like the kind of like super hardcore, but like that's kind of the baseline for lead design. For director is up 80. And then the sky is for when you're going in-house, you can add more or less 10 to 10% to this amount for each one of the positions. Depends on the company that you are working on. And if you're going for consultancy, it's kind of foggy there for me, but I would say that's about 10% more, 20% more than agency. So that's pretty much the range of salaries.
And one of the things that I think, yeah, exactly what you said, something I think people don't think about very much, which is just really simple, is the more money the company makes, the more money you can get paid to work there. So if it's a big conglomerate or car company, maybe not car company, you know what I know, or a big, huge agency that's working all around the world and they're charging lots of money, they'll pay you more money. And so if money is a factor for you, which is totally okay if it is, then go look for the companies that make lots of money for themselves.
And another thing is, don't be shy about charging. Never be shy about charging.
Just try to say double what you think and then see what happens.
Exactly. The worst thing is like you don't get the job and that's it.
Yeah, and when you're freelancing, sometimes price sets expectations a bit. So if you go really low, you're gonna be trashed by the client. So don't do that. Yeah.
Well, I would like to brag a little bit here because I actually underpitched myself for Zalando, and they said, ha ha ha, that's very funny, and then they brought me up to a very high salary. It was also nice, but
lucky you.
So good.
Yeah, really lucky me, and I think that quote about learning by mistakes is very true in my life. But actually, this is something that we would love to dive maybe deeper into next year about salary bands and salary wages if people want to participate. So I think maybe, but now we can talk about what we're going to do in the future. Marty.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Let's, can you share back, Mauro?
It's coming.
Yeah. Yes. This, unfortunately, we have to wrap today, even though there are some questions left, but I hope this was an interesting conversation for you. And basically, woo, we're done. So can you go next?
Someone is
echoing.
That could be me. Sorry.
No worries. Can you go to the next slide, Mauro, please? So this is the last event of the year for us. This has been a very particular year. I'm sure you have read enough blog posts and articles and things about it, but you can still revisit the year when it comes to the Service Design Drinks Berlin, because we have a YouTube channel where we have all the recordings from all the different events we've had. Really great conversations with people, talks, a range of topics. So I hope they are useful and interesting for you. A lot of the topics that we were talking about today, we kind of touched upon on one of the sessions when we talked about careers and how to progress in your career at the beginning of the year. So go ahead and watch them. And we will also have this one on that YouTube channel soon. Yes. One thing that we wanted to share with you is, again, on the topic of building community and being part of the community. Every year, IXDA has a Christmas party. They are super nice. They are always in really nice places. This year, it's going to be virtual, but it's still happening. This is the email that you would receive if you were part of the newsletter. But now you know, just you can Google X Christmas 2020 and register for this on Eventbrite. Be part of the community, get in touch with people there, and they are a really nice bunch. Yeah.
Remember, if you know people, we don't need a portfolio.
Yes, and much like I just shared one event, to those who are left, do you have anything that you would like to announce? This is your chance to unmute yourself and just share with the rest. Okay, you can always share, and if you go to the next slide, with the community in any of our channels, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. We also have a Slack channel, which you can find on our website, sddberlin.com. If you sign up there, you get an invite, and then you can be part of that and announce anything that you have there. There's a lot of people there. If you're looking for a job, if you're looking for people to talk to, if you are looking for feedback, anything, just get in there, and we are there. So if you need us, we are also there. You want to get in touch with us. And yeah, that's
Maybe
it. Yeah, go for it.
Quickly add to that, if you want to, if you want to have another conversation just about salaries and CVs and portfolios or something like that, or you want to hear about a particular topic, or you could also write to us on those channels, like on Facebook or Instagram or
Yes.
Twitter. Because every time we just come up with what we think might be interesting, but if people tell us, we know. Yeah.
Yeah. And stalk us or anybody else that you want on LinkedIn and get in touch with them and just write them a message. Right now, I think if you can't do it in person, at least do it virtually, but just go for it. Yeah, so that's it for this year for the Service Design Drinks in Berlin. Thanks for sticking with us. I've seen some names and some faces that I've seen in other events during the year, so that's really awesome to see. Even when we are far, we are still close. And yeah, we'll meet you next year. Yes, Adam, exactly. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Oh, yes.
Thanks, everyone.
Goodbye.
Good night to the people in India who it's
Yes.
1 a.m. and
Good night.